I am excited for our guest today, Mark Stringer from the ACLU. We are going to have an incredible time really just walking down his path to figure out how he came to belong in the space in which he is right now. I'm excited.
Have a fantastic conversation. I'm really eager to see what we can learn from Mark.
All right. Mark is right here, right where you belong. Mark, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks. It's good. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
From your vantage point, I can brag on you, right? I don't know if you're interested in doing it, but when we think about leaders, obviously somebody's following, and I'm curious from your vantage point, especially when we're in a predominantly white state, how does it look for you in leading folks that may not have interactions with people who are different from them, who may not have connected with folks in the criminal justice system? How is it for you in leading folks like that down a path that's going to help people overall in the long run?
It's a great question, Deidre, and you could probably answer it as well as I could. But but from my perspective, one of the key pieces for me has been a willingness to learn from others. Like, I think a leader really emerges because they're willing to be vulnerable, willing to always be learning something new, willing to take chances to help create the kind of organization or culture that they themselves want to be a part of. And so when I think about, for example, the steps that are needed to build an equity culture in our society, I have to start with, well, why is this important? And it's important because it's where I want to live. Like, I personally want to live in a culture where there's equity and inclusion and diversity and belonging, where we learn from each other as much as any one person tells anybody anything else, right? Like, leaders, I think the misconception about leaders is that they always have to have the answers. But what I've found is the best leaders, and the one I strive to be, is the one always asking the right questions.
I think there sometimes can be a great deal of fear that comes along with that, because it's the fear of the unknown, taking a risk, getting outside of your box. How do we mitigate that fear?
Well, I think sometimes the fear is a product of the inability to see that the other alternative is not good. Like, okay, I may be afraid, I may hold back, I may not want to challenge myself, but then I'm limiting what's possible for me and for the organization I serve. If I'm not willing to reach out to the team I work with, the people in my circle and beyond, to better understand how they are seeing things, then I'm not going to see completely either. And as a leader, that's just not a good place to be in. You want to be in a place where you're seeing as much as possible, and you're willing to let what you see change you, and to question and challenge the status quo. When a few months ago, the ACLU, our parent organization, invited our affiliate to participate in a climate survey. And as a result of that climate survey, which is basically, do you feel like you belong in your affiliate? Do you feel like you can be uniquely yourself? Do you feel like you are part of decision making? And I was not pleased with the results of that survey. I mean, we did okay, but I mean, as a leader, that was not only disheartening for me, it was disappointing to an extreme degree, because if the ACLU is not a place where people feel like they can belong, then how are we going to argue for a society in which more people should feel like they belong more often? And so I think those experiences should always, they certainly called to me to question the status quo. How am I contributing as a leader to an environment where people feel like they don't belong? So these opportunities are a chance for me to learn, but for our organization that I get to serve on this with this great team, that we all get to be better. We all get to do better. And that's way more important than any fear I might have. I mean, I think sometimes fear is a product of people being afraid they're going to fail. But I made the decision, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail for the right reasons. And I'm going to try to fail forward. And I'm not perfect. Oh my gosh. I mean, one of the reasons why I was willing to talk about this is because I'm not perfect. I don't have the answers, not even close, but I have the gumption to want to be in the right place, on the right side of history, engaged with people for the right reasons. And so that's what drives me forward.
You are definitely a humble man. I definitely see that. Tell me a little bit about the work that you do with the ACLU in answering this question. What work are you most proud of right now that you've been able to accomplish through that organization? I know this is putting me on the spot on purpose, y'all. I'm putting them on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm most proud of internally for us is that we're starting to be the place where I think people feel trust, and they feel like they can be uniquely themselves, and that they can contribute in meaningful ways to our work, no matter where they are in the structure of the organization. That's the organization I want to build toward. You don't just do that overnight, because there's a lot of structures and habits, traditions even, that counteract that impulse. But I think that's part of what, as a leader, I'm being called to do, is to reflect on where are the moments where I'm making decisions where I don't have a full picture. Who's not at the table that should be? How can I be sure that the impacts of the decisions that I get to make are not detrimental to the people on the staff who some might consider themselves to be marginalized in some way? The decisions that I get to make should be reflective of the team I get to serve with. And until I get into a place where I have all the answers, which I don't anticipate I'll ever be in, I have to include as many people in decision making as I can. That's challenging because it doesn't feel efficient. Back in my ministry days, I read something one time that said the opposite of love isn't hate, it's efficiency. Now I know, depending on the business that a viewer might be in, you have to be efficient because money is what matters. But when we're talking about human community, when we're talking about people, efficiency is perhaps the least important thing. I think connectedness is more important than efficiency. People feeling like they belong, like they are a part of something bigger than them. That's the same kind of vibe I tried to create as a minister, and it's certainly the vibe I try to create as a leader at the ACLU of Iowa.
You're speaking my language, and one of the things that 2020 has unveiled to us is that efficiency, I believe, is our worst enemy, no matter what organization you're working with, because sometimes the bottom line is not as much of a priority for your organization as you may think it is. And efficiency typically stands against that, because efficiency is something that we can brag about. It's our milestones. It's what we get paid on. Efficiency helps us market things a lot better. But at the end of the day, we're still human beings, like you said earlier. And if we bet on the side of human beings, we're probably going down the right direction versus efficiency's sake.